Hiya folks, welcome back to another Irish whiskey review with me, Marty Macaulay. Take it you're well. I'll assume you are, and if you're not, leave a message in the comments and we'll get back to you on condition. As I tell guests I have on coach trips and stuff, I have to read out a health and safety blurb, and it says on it, if you have any medical ailments, problems, conditions, do tell me and I'll try my best. So I always tell them, I'm not medically trained, but I'll have a go if they want. I'm a keen amateur rather than a professional, so yeah, no bother at all. Yeah, so you'll notice there's no whiskey. Well, the reason for that is this is a slightly different one. Now, if you watched the Irish whiskey review with myself and Justin on previous Saturday night, I was talking and waxing lyrical about a tasting I had attended. It was part of Belfast Whisky Week without really being part of Belfast Whisky Week. The tasting pack wasn't a Belfast Whisky Week pack. It was, anyone that watched the show will know what I'm going to start talking about. It was this pack from Boann Distillery, down in the Boyne Valley. Now, it says in the front, 2021 Vintage Mashbills, a unique experiment into the history of single pot still Irish whiskey. 500 boxes of this in the world. That's all. Take that sleeve off. I might take that away. Now, in case anyone's wondering what this is the Boann Distillery Loreton. Okay, mash inlet gives you a diagram essentially of the sparging and stuff. Goes around. This is basically show you the mash bills that go in here to extract the sugary wort that comes out, and it's that this magnificently presented. Look at that! Look at that! It even smells good. Whenever we're doing the tasting, I said to the group, this box even smells really good. It's got a lovely, the glue that they've used on it is very nice. I know that's being pedantic, but it's nonetheless true. So what is it? In this little box is a history of Irish pot still whisky. Okay. Now it runs through different mash bills. And for those of you who might not be aware of what that means, I'd like to think most of you do, but if you don't, mash bill is the cereal mix that goes into pot still whisky. Single malt whisky is made from 100% malted barley, where the barley has been tricked and grown a little bit. It's then dried and stopped, and that breaks down, starches into sugars and so on and so forth. So, pot still whisky, different. Pot still whisky is a mixture of malted, unmalted barley and other adjuncts or other cereals or whatever. The way you want to put it. You can't just put anything. I said whatever there, and that's sort of a daft way of saying that, but you'll know what I mean. And this is being compiled by the rather wonderful Fionnán O'Connor for his Ph.D. Now I'm putting these in order because of them all mixed up. I did 10 tastings that night, and they're all at 63%. So you can imagine by the time I was getting to the end of it, it was not as organised as what it could have been. It is really something amazing, and it's something that whiskey does that other things don't do. In that, whiskey can take you back in time because time and place make up such an important part of the story. That's why most whiskies brands tend to have the name of the place that they're from on them. The vast majority of them do. They have associations with a place, even down to the point where, you know, you're talking about Maryland rye in America, Kentucky bourbon, Bowmore from the village of Bowmore on Islay style whiskies. You know, English whiskies now making itself known. You have Ireland as a PGI product, Scotch. You know, it's all about the place. Then, lots of them, what's seen as a sign of quality, will put age to it. So it's this sense of place and time that is really associated with whiskey. You don't get it with vodka, not even really with rum. You know, you get your aged rums. They don't tend to be that long aged. You can get aged tequila and so on, but they're not aged for very long because where they're from. But you know, you'll have Jamaican rum, but it doesn't carry the gravitas. It's not really put down as being Kingston rum, you know, from Kingston, Jamaica, or you know, you'll get Guyanan rum, but it's not as local as that. You know, it doesn't get down really to the distilleries and stuff just the same way as it does in whiskey. So what Fionnán has done is, remember, pot still whiskies protect it to being Irish. And Irish whiskey has changed dramatically over the years. What used to be called whiskey, this is what used to be called whiskey. Okay? Try and move that a little bit closer so you see. Now what you got was tasting cards with a little blurb about the history. So I'm going to pick one at random because, well, not one at random, I'll pick this as the one. Now, 10 of them, all in these beautifully printed cards. A little bit of a history lesson on each one. We'll get to that in a wee minute. So I picked number 3. You get a beautiful tour glass with it as well. Not as big a fan of tour glasses, if I'm honest. I think the angly bit of it, I prefer a Glencairn glass, personal choice. But it does a great job at opening whiskey up for you. I picked number 3 because I didn't bring any water down here, because I thought this you don't really need water with. Now what you're getting with this, and I'm only putting a little drop in because I don't want to waste it. Not that wasting it in your company. I wouldn't be wasting it in your company. I have to be delicate in what I'm saying here. So what you're getting here is, this is the USA Pure Product Report from 1916 to 1955. And I'm going to read this out. Drawn from both early 20th century Dublin whisky exports reports and from a triple distilled incarnation of the Old Cumber mash in County Down, this mash bill represents a more deeply oaten incarnation of the mash number 2, this one, style of malt, barley and oats distilling that continued through the 20th century until the closure of Cumber in the 1950s. Although both the malt and raw barley contents remain historically high, this noticeably pushes forward the softness of the oats. Now, I'm not going to do number 2 on this, but this is how this tasting goes. It kind of goes in a sequence that makes kind of sense. Now it says here, single pot still new make spirit, bottled at cask strength, non-chill filtered, because obviously back in the day chill filtration wasn't in. Now Fionnán wrote the tasting notes, and some of the tasting notes are quite good. So this is raspberry sorbet, cake icing and peach flesh on the nose. On the palate, ginger snaps and lemon rind on a cream-coated mouthfeel, slightly sour red grapes. And in the finish, green tannic Granny Smith's soda bread, citrus oils, gelato coating on the lips, prickly pear on the gums. It's, yeah. Now, The mash bill's 45% barley, 40% malt, and 15% oats. Now, it's full of fruit, full of fruit. It does have an ice creamy thing to it. He has it down as cake icing. I put it down as like ice cream, good vanilla ice cream. And it's just pumping through with flavour. This isn't something that you get these days. Now, it's not aged. It hasn't been aged yet. But honestly, I don't think you'd want to change the character of that much. You'd want to take the fiery heat out of it and mellow it down. And hopefully enhance what's there. But that's just special. The nose on it's unbelievably nice. It's just, fast. That's chuffing lovely. It just is. That's 63%. I could drink that just neat like that. That is lovely. I mean, wow. And it's not whiskey. This isn't whiskey. But this is what they used to make. This is what Ireland built a worldwide reputation on doing. This is what made Irish whiskey what it was. People talk about the old days and how, the good old days and how things were better back then. Lots of that's rubbish. Lots of stuff far better today than it's ever been in history. I've tasted some Bushmills from back in the day, and not as good as as some of the stuff they're making now. Some of the stuff they're making now not particularly fabulous, but yeah, that's just amazing. And with Old Cumber now coming out from Ecklenville, this is the kind of stuff they're going to be trying to make. And if it's like that, we're in for some treat. It's just, let me see. Where was it? I'm trying to find out the one. Because there's a few of these that, what was the one that I really liked? Let me think. I should have prepared for this. Oh, that's the one there. They were talking about all these new distilleries appearing. What I call the Lazarus brands, where they just buy the brand, essentially. And, they just have the brand. They don't do necessarily what that distillery did when it was open back in 1784, whatever time it was. 1923. This was a distillery, blah blah blah, blah, and all the blurb, and then just make whatever it is. This one is a bit different. This is number 9, and this is the Boann Distillery. And this mash has been decimalised from a 1910s brewing sheet belonging to the prestigious Allman's Distillery in Bandon in Cork. Although the wheat content is still high for the 20th century, it also tracks the most common mash practice defined by Andrew Jameson before the What is Whisky trial in use across Ireland in the 1910s, with oats, wheat and rye mashed in descending percentages for a complex wash. Utilising all 3 historical adjuncts, this mash is also a case study in the combined effects of their flavours in tandem. Now this is 40% barley, 30% malt, 15% oats, 10% wheat and 5% rye. Now, what you were getting, and I got it from a few people saying, box is quite expensive. It's like £110 or something for the box. It was £110 for the box. Look at it. Look at the work that went into this. That glass alone's about 15 quid. You get that beautiful presentation. You get all the tasting cards. You get... they did a tasting, and Fionnán gave us all the history. Lift that back out, you can set it there. You get a 4-hour history lesson. What? I buy books at £20 a shot. I sometimes don't even bother reading them. I just have them as reference. And here's a guy who's passionate about stuff, who's an expert in what he's talking about, giving you a 4-hour talk on the intricacies and how you came about this and how you researched it and how you done all this. Then you get the experience of actually tasting it. You get the experience of keeping it. I don't know. For £100. Now, bear in mind there's 63%, so if you're going to water it down a little bit, instead of having half a litre of spirit, if you add in half as much again, you're taking it down to sort of 40%. You add in half as much water again, you take it down towards 40%. Suddenly you've got a full bottle. Lots of people buy £100 bottles of whiskey. No problem. Don't think twice about it. No, I'm going to compare the two noses on this, because this is 15% oats, but it's the malt and the barley have dropped down. The barley's dropped down by 5%, the malt's dropped down by 10%, and to compensate for that, there's been 10% wheat and 5% rye put in. So, well, this is ice cream, berries, quite sweet, pleasantly sweet, like good vanilla ice cream, fresh raspberries, fresh stuff, right? This is coming through. It has a totally different flavour. There's a spice to it, probably coming from the rye. On the nose, this is. You're still getting, coming from oats, you're still getting that kind of candy, ice creamy nose from it. It's funny because the malt isn't, the malt isn't coming through on this. It's giving you something totally different experience. That fruit, those berries that are coming through, beautiful, absolutely stunning. That's lovely. And there's nice, that's at 63%. The finish should just cut out like that because the alcohol's so heavy. But it finishes well. The alcohol's so heavy, that should be cleaning your palate. As soon as that leaves your mouth, shouldn't be a finish. But there is. And it's about that congener retention. It's about keeping the flavour in it and using the mash bill to bring it, to give you all of this flavour. That, honestly, it was just the best, unbelievable tasting experience. All the way through. Thought it the whole way through. Beautiful things. Towards the end, I stopped doing flavour notes and that kind of thing. Because to be honest, I just had sensory overload. You had so much going on, and so much to taste, so much to compare, so much to take in, so much to try and get your head around and understand and listen to and learn and do all of that. Just a fabulous experience. Now they've laid these down, so in 7 years' time, which is when they're looking for it, 7 years, these will start to come out. Let you in a little secret. These will fly off the shelves. People will go absolutely bonkers to get their hands on these. Some of them will never be made commercially again. They just won't. For commercial reasons, they just won't be made. There might be, Cologne might make a batch of something out of this or do something along the lines, but some of them just won't be made for various reasons. So probably the only chance you'll get to compare the new make, what the cask influence has done, are the residual flavours there from the mash bills. Can you experiment and find out? Can you taste the what the new make was like in relation to what you're buying in the bottle that will come out in 7 years' time? This is the only chance you'll get to do that. And for people to turn around and say they thought it was overpriced, baffles me. Just baffles me. What you're getting in terms of a whole experience. And when these bottles come out, they'll probably release them in a little sequence and so on. You have these bottles, these will be sought after. I can assure you, people will be tripping over themselves to get these. So yeah, just fabulous, brilliant tasting experience. If you haven't bought one of these packs, I do feel sorry for you. That's the truth. Go and get them. I think there are a couple of them left. Probably not that many, but go and get them. Because in 7 years' time, when some of the most highly sought after bottles of whiskey are flying off the shelves, because they didn't make hundreds of barrels of this stuff. There's not a huge amount of it. There's only 500 packs of this, and a fair few of them have been opened. In a few years' time, this will be really, really sought after. I can assure you of that. Yeah. So honestly, get your hands on one. And that's my advice, because it'll be a fantastic experience to have this and the old stuff. I probably won't touch much more of this, and I know they're miniatures, and I know there's probably going to be a little bit of loss out of the top of the bottles, but I'm prepared to take the chance. And in 7 years' time, we'll pay them a visit whenever we pick up a bottle of the Boann Distillery 1910s rye, wheat, oats, malt and barley mashbill, and I'll look at it, and by that stage I'll have probably read through part of Fionnán's Ph.D. Probably not all of it, because it'll be very academic, and I'm not necessarily the most academic person in the world. But guys, honestly, it was an amazing experience, and I thank Fionnán, I thank the guys at Boann, the guys who held it up, Belfast Whisky Week and stuff, for hosting it. Thank you very much for all of it, because it was something special. It really was. So, talked about that long enough. Stay safe, folks. Take care. Don't be drinking too much. Certainly don't be drinking too much 63% new make spirit, because you will end up very, very drunk very, very quickly. Okay? So just take care, and take care. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.